Hi, I'm Connie Vandeman Jeffrey, and this is All God's People. The entire team of communication professionals from across the Pacific Union were involved last week in the production of the prayer and protest video that we shared with you as our regular All God's People. I hope you had the opportunity to watch it, because it speaks in simple yet eloquent terms of how the church is responding to the killing of George Floyd and is participating in peaceful protests in support of the Black Lives Matter movement. As Adventists, we certainly have an important role to fulfill in this society-wide conversation. One of the stories that we couldn't fit into our report last week was from Clovis, California, where Pastor David Dean felt convicted to reach out to Police Department Chief Fleming after he saw an official online post of his balanced, heartfelt, and informative response to the death of George Floyd. Chief Fleming agreed to come to the Clovis Church and answer questions on Sabbath, June 6, and the church deeply appreciated it. It has opened up a door for further connection and bridge building between us, Pastor Dean said. Their interview was posted to the police department website and has had over 8,000 views. The link to the interview is in our bulletin. Thank you, Clovis and Pastor Dean, for a very tangible demonstration of community engagement. This weekend we will celebrate Father's Day, a day to honor what our fathers mean to us and to express our gratitude to them. This is the 20th Father's Day since my dad's death, and I still miss him every day. What an incredible impact he had on my life. As I've been thinking about the events of the past 3 months, and particularly these past few weeks, I can't help but wonder what my dad would have thought and felt. What counsel would he have shared with me? How would he have related to these times? And I think I know the answer. He would have spoken from a perspective of love and compassion, advocating for social justice in a firm but kind tone, turning to the Word of God for guidance, leaning heavily on prayer. He would have loved the Leadership Roundtable discussion hosted by Dr. Ricardo Graham on June 10, and he would have added his voice to the conversations we are having. In fact, I can just hear him urging us to stand for the right though the heavens fall. A nice way to remember him this Father's Day. And by the way, if you missed the roundtable, a link to this thoughtful and riveting 1 hour and 20-minute discussion from our senior leadership here in the Pacific Union is in the bulletin. Some wonderful things have been happening for our children to help combat the isolation of social distancing due to the coronavirus. Using Facebook and YouTube, the Arizona Conference Youth Ministry Department recently hosted a virtual Camp Sabbath for adventurers, children ages 6 to 10. Participants sang together, prayed together, listened to stories, shared photos of their pets, and used the Kahoot app to answer questions about the Bible. Supplies needed for the various activities were posted on the Adventurers page of the Youth Ministry website. In Northern California, Gracepoint Church's Adventurer Club held a camp-in place of the traditional spring campout. Director Janice Coe, leaders, and parents endeavored to make it as much like a real camping trip as possible. They slept in tents in their backyards and living rooms. They prepared camp food like s'mores, and they went on nature walks near their homes. 15 families gathered together by Zoom for a Friday evening Vespers and a Sabbath afternoon program. Kids and parents enjoyed singing, earning the Nature A to Z Award, going on a scavenger hunt, making crafts, and playing online charades. They posted photos of their activities in a Google album, and then watched a slideshow together to see all the fun. I love how, despite social distancing, churches are finding creative, meaningful ways for our young people to stay connected. The June Recorder should be in your homes by now, and it's also available online. And the brand new Spring 2020 Spanish Recorder is also online, and the link is in our bulletin. Even as circumstances have forced us to develop new ways of connecting and communicating, each month it's our great privilege at the Pacific Union Recorder to bring the inspiring news of God's care and blessing to the Adventist believers in the Pacific Southwest. The churches, schools, and ministries that serve our region continue to function and fulfill their vital role in worship, learning, fellowship, and witness. This month, we're pleased to begin the serialization of William G. Johnson's new book, Simple Gifts. As congregations everywhere are looking forward to reopening their doors and beginning live services at churches once again, Adventist Risk Management has provided complete guidelines on reopening the churches. The link to these comprehensive guidelines is in our bulletin. Next week, our program will showcase some of the amazing graduations from our schools around the Union. It's going to be a very special program that you won't want to miss. In closing this week, a text that was a favorite of my father's and a promise that I claim every day. Casting all your care upon him, for he careth for you. He cares for all God's people. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you back here next week.